Hey, let's just pause together for a moment. Can you take a really slow, deep breath with me? In through your nose, feel your chest rise, and slowly let it out through your mouth. Just let some tension go with that breath. Does life sometimes feel like just too much? Like you're constantly trying to keep your head above water, juggling a dozen things at once, carrying this invisible backpack filled with worries, expectations, and maybe even some old hurts. It might be the ping of notifications on your phone, the endless news cycle, the pressure to keep up, to be more, to do more. Or maybe it's quieter, that internal voice that whispers anxieties about tomorrow, or replays conversations from yesterday, picking them apart. There's just so much noise, both outside and inside, isn't there? So many demands pulling you in different directions, so much pressure that can leave you feeling scattered, overwhelmed, and just plain tired. It often feels like you're walking on a tightrope in a gusty wind, desperately trying to keep your balance in a world that seems determined to knock you off. And let's be honest, life is wildly unpredictable. It can be breathtakingly beautiful one moment and heartbreakingly difficult the next. We make plans and they get derailed. We trust, and sometimes that trust is broken. We experience sudden losses that leave us reeling, or face challenges that seem insurmountable. Maybe it's a health scare, a job loss, a relationship ending, or just the slow, grinding weight of daily struggles. Things don't always go the way we hoped, or the way we thought they should. People we love go through immense pain, and sometimes we're the ones navigating that deep valley. It can feel chaotic, random, and deeply unfair, like being tossed about in a relentless storm we never saw coming. And here's the raw, unavoidable truth. We can't command the weather of life. We can't stop the waves from crashing. We can't silence the thunder just by wishing it away. So much of what happens out there, in the grand scheme of things, and even in our day-to-day, it's simply not within our control. But amidst all that uncertainty, all that external chaos, there's something incredible I want you to really hear, something profoundly hopeful. While you can't control the storm raging outside, there exists a space inside you, a core deep within that the storm doesn't have to shatter. Imagine it like a deep, calm harbor, or a sturdy, unshakable anchor holding firm beneath the turbulent surface. Deep within you right now, there's a potential for quiet strength, for profound calm, for resilience. And the key, the secret to unlocking this inner sanctuary, lies in truly grasping this simple, yet utterly life-changing idea. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you always, without exception, have the power to choose how you respond to it. Let that sink in for a second. Your thoughts about the situation, the meaning you assign to it, your attitude as you face it, your actions, your words, your choices in this very moment that is your sovereign territory. That's where your true power resides. Think about receiving difficult news. The news itself is external, you couldn't prevent it, but your reaction, panic, despair, or perhaps a deep breath, a moment of stillness, followed by asking, okay, what is the next right step I can take? That reaction is yours to choose. It's like being pushed unexpectedly. You can't control the push, but you can control whether you stumble and fall or catch your balance, plant your feet, and stand firm. The external event doesn't change, but your internal experience, your sense of agency, your dignity, that changes everything. That choice, moment by moment, that's always yours. And speaking of choices, what about the heavy burdens we often choose to carry unnecessarily? The constant gnawing worry about the future, imagining worst-case scenarios, stressing over things that haven't happened and may never happen, or the endless loop of regret about the past, replaying mistakes, dwelling on what-ifs, beating ourselves up for things we can no longer change. It's like dragging heavy chains behind us, isn't it? It drains our precious energy, steals our peace, and keeps us trapped. What if just for today we could consciously decide to loosen our grip on those chains? What if we could gently, kindly set down some of that unnecessary weight? Because the only time we truly possess, the only moment where life actually unfolds, is right now. Not 5 minutes ago, not an hour from now. This breath you're taking now, this moment right here, This is where your life is happening. When you notice your mind getting hijacked by anxieties about tomorrow or regrets about yesterday, can you gently, patiently guide it back to the present? Like training a puppy, just bring it back. What can you actually do, feel, or experience right here, right now? Perhaps it's noticing the way the light falls across the room, truly tasting your food, feeling your feet on the ground, listening fully to someone speaking, or simply focusing on the rhythm of your own breathing. There's an incredible richness, a surprising depth, and a profound sense of peace waiting to be discovered just by fully showing up for the life that is happening in this present moment. Part of being present also involves learning the difficult yet liberating art of acceptance. Accepting reality as it is. Right now, even the messy, painful, inconvenient parts we desperately wish were different. Acceptance doesn't mean you have to like it. It doesn't mean condoning unfairness or giving up on making things better where you can. It simply means acknowledging without resistance, okay, this is the situation I'm currently facing. It's the difference between endlessly banging your head against a locked door and accepting that it's locked, then looking around for a window, another way through, or perhaps deciding this path isn't the one for you right now. Acceptance stops the futile drain of energy spent fighting reality. It frees you up to assess the situation clearly and focus your strength where it can actually make a difference on your actions, your choices, your next wise step forward. It shifts you from victim of circumstance to active participant in your own life, even amidst difficulty. Because ultimately, when you look back on your life, what will truly define your journey? Will it be only the list of things that happened to you, the storms, the setbacks, the lucky breaks? Or will it be the story of who you chose to be in response to it all? Did you choose compassion, even when faced with anger? Did you choose integrity, even when it was easier to cut corners? Did you choose courage, stepping forward even when your knees were shaking? Did you choose patience, fairness, forgiveness, perseverance? These qualities, the sum total of your choices, the shape of your character, the strength of your integrity. This is the real masterpiece you are building. This is your inner core, your true wealth. And unlike your possessions, your job title, or your circumstances, this inner fortress is something no external event, no person, no misfortune can ever truly take away from you. It's built from the inside out, choice by conscious choice. And please remember this too, especially when things feel overwhelming. You are not navigating this journey alone. Look around, feel outwards with your awareness. We are all part of this intricate tapestry of humanity. Every single person you encounter is facing their own hidden battles, carrying their own invisible burdens, searching for their own sense of peace and meaning. We all stumble. We all feel pain. We all yearn for connection. We're all in these unpredictable waters together, trying to find our way. Sometimes, just remembering this shared human experience can put our own troubles into a gentler perspective. It can soften the edges of our own pain and open our hearts to greater empathy, both for ourselves and for others. It reminds us that vulnerability is not weakness, but a shared condition, and that reaching out, offering kindness, is one of the most powerful things we can do. So finding that deep inner peace, that unshakable strength, it's not about waiting for life to magically become easy or perfect. That day may never come. Instead, it's about intentionally, consciously cultivating resilience within yourself, right here, right now, amidst whatever life is presenting. It's about understanding where your true power lies, not in trying to bend the world to your will, but in mastering your own inner landscape, in choosing your response with wisdom and intention, in anchoring yourself firmly in the present moment, in bravely accepting what you cannot change, and in diligently, lovingly building a character you can stand by, a character that reflects your deepest values. This isn't a magic pill or a quick fix. It's a lifelong practice, a path you walk one step at a time. Some days you'll feel strong and centered. Other days you'll feel lost and unsteady. That's okay. That's part of being human. The key is to be kind to yourself through it all. When you stumble, gently pick yourself up. When your mind wanders, gently guide it back. Just keep returning to your breath, keep returning to your choices, Keep returning to this precious present moment. That anchor is inside you. It's always been there. You really do have this capacity for strength, for calm, for resilience. Learn to trust it. Learn to rely on it. Learn to live from that centered place. You are far stronger, more capable, and more resilient than you probably give yourself credit for. Believe it. Finding your inner lighthouse in life's storms. Does it ever feel like you're adrift on a really vast, unpredictable ocean? Like you're in this small boat, and some days the water is glassy calm, the sun is warm on your face, the horizon seems full of promise, and everything feels manageable, even easy. You feel hopeful, capable. But then, sometimes gradually, sometimes with shocking suddenness, the sky darkens, the wind howls, the waves swell into huge, intimidating walls of water, crashing over the sides of your little boat. You feel tossed around, disoriented, maybe even terrified, just desperately trying to bail water, keep your balance, and stay afloat. Maybe those storms are big life events, the ones that shake your foundations. A sudden illness, your own or someone you love, losing a job that felt secure, the painful end of a relationship, the grief that follows a deep loss, facing financial hardship that keeps you up at night. These are the towering waves that threaten to capsize us. Or maybe it's the relentless, choppy water of daily life, that constant undercurrent of stress and pressure. The feeling of being pulled in a million directions by work demands, family responsibilities, social obligations. The endless scroll of information, comparison, and curated perfection online that leaves you feeling inadequate or anxious. The weight of expectations, both from others and the ones we place on ourselves. The low hum of worry about the future, about the state of the world, about things that feel enormous and out of our hands. It can feel overwhelming, like you're constantly reacting, patching leaks, getting pulled further and further off course by currents you didn't choose and can't seem to fight. You search desperately for solid ground, for a reliable landmark, something firm to hold on to. But everything just seems to be shifting, swirling, uncertain. And the raw, sometimes uncomfortable truth is, much of life is like that unpredictable ocean. We are not the masters of the sea. We cannot command the tides to stop. We cannot negotiate with the hurricane. We cannot control the actions, feelings, or choices of other people, no matter how much we might wish we could. We can't foresee every squall, every hidden reef, every sudden change in the weather pattern. We pour so much precious energy into wishing things were different, into resisting what is, into pushing against the relentless waves of reality. We get angry at the storm, scared of the deep water, frustrated by the journey's difficulty. We try to build bigger, better rafts out of things we believe will guarantee our safety: more money, a perfect relationship, a prestigious title, constant validation from others. But even the most impressive external structures can be damaged or swept away by the unpredictable forces of life. They offer temporary shelter perhaps, but not true, unshakable security. But what if I told you that you carry something within you that's far more reliable, far more enduring than any external raft? What if deep inside your own being, there's a kind of inner lighthouse? Something built on bedrock, something steady and strong, capable of casting a clear, guiding beam of light, no matter how dark the night sky becomes, no matter how furiously the storm rages around you. This isn't about pretending the storms aren't real or dangerous. It's about discovering a different way to navigate through them. It's about realizing, perhaps for the first time, where your true, untouchable power actually lies. See, while you absolutely cannot control the vast ocean outside the events, the circumstances, other people, you can learn to become the skilled, conscious captain of your own vessel. And even more profoundly, you can learn to diligently tend to that inner lighthouse, ensuring its light burns bright and clear. What does this really mean in practical terms? It means deeply understanding and internalizing this fundamental, life-altering truth. The only things you have complete, guaranteed, 100% jurisdiction over are your own mind, your own thoughts, your own interpretations and judgments, your own considered choices, and your own deliberate actions. Everything else is, to some degree or another, outside your ultimate control. Let that sink in. Really feel the weight and the liberation of it. External events happen, that's the weather, the waves, the wind. But how you choose to interpret those events, the meaning you assign to them, the story you weave around them in your mind, this is a disaster versus this is difficult and I will face it. The attitude you consciously decide to adopt, bitterness versus resilience. The way you deliberately choose to act or not act in response, that entire sequence happens within your inner world. That is the flame within your lighthouse, the one you have the power to tend, to shield, to keep burning. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. The external event is their action outside your control. Your immediate surge of anger might feel automatic, but what happens next is a choice point. Do you lean on the horn, shout, let it fester and ruin your mood for the next hour? Or do you take a breath, recognize the flash of anger, maybe think, wow, they must be in a hurry, and consciously choose to let it go, refocusing on your own driving, your own music, your own peace? The external event didn't change, but by choosing your response, you protected your inner calm. You kept your light steady. You face a significant setback at work, a project fails. You get passed over for promotion. You can't magically undo it, but you can choose your response. Will you spiral into self-pity or blame? Or will you allow yourself to feel the disappointment, then analyze what happened, learn what you can, and decide on your next constructive steps with courage and dignity? This is where your true freedom is found, not in the often futile attempt to manipulate the external world to perfectly match your desires, but in the profound, always available power to master your internal world. It's about consciously shifting your focus from a helpless, why is this happening to me, to empowered, given that this is happening, how will I choose to respond? A huge part of tending this inner lighthouse involves actively clearing away the dense, disorienting fog, the fog of persistent worry about what might happen, and the heavy fog of clinging to what has happened. Think about how much precious mental and emotional energy we pour into replaying past mistakes, dissecting old conversations, nursing ancient grievances, wishing desperately we could go back and say or do something different. It's like being haunted by ghosts of our own making. And equally, how much peace do we willingly sacrifice by projecting ourselves into an imaginary future, anxiously rehearsing potential problems, catastrophizing about worst-case scenarios, trying to control outcomes that haven't even begun to unfold? Our minds do this often out of a misguided attempt to gain control or avoid discomfort, but it just leaves us feeling exhausted, scattered, and disconnected from our actual lives. It's like trying to navigate treacherous waters by constantly staring at the churning wake behind the ship or squinting fearfully at terrifying, imaginary sea monsters lurking just over the horizon. The only place you can actually steer your ship, the only place life is truly happening, the only moment you have any real influence is right here, right now, in this unfolding present moment. This breath you are taking right now, this sensation of your body sitting or standing, this sound you can hear, this single choice before you, this is the helm. When you notice your mind being swept away into the fog banks of yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's anxieties, and it will happen again and again, can you gently, without judgment, guide it back? Like patiently calling a wandering child back to your side. Anchor yourself in the tangible reality of now. Feel the solidness of the ground beneath your feet. Notice 5 things you can see around you. Listen intently to the sounds filling the space. Engage fully with your whole attention in whatever simple task is in front of you, whether it's sipping your coffee, typing an email, listening to a friend, or feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin. The present moment, when we truly inhabit it, holds an unexpected richness, a clarity, a quiet sense of being fully alive. It's where your power resides. It's the only place you can make a real choice, take a meaningful action, or simply experience the peace of being. And within this embrace of the present moment lies the profound strength of acceptance. This isn't about passive resignation or pretending you like something you don't. It's not about giving up on improving things where you have influence. It is rather a clear-eyed, courageous acknowledgement of what is right now in this moment. Accepting that the storm is raging, accepting that this challenge is before you, accepting that you feel disappointed or scared or frustrated or tired, accepting the reality of your own emotions without fighting them or judging yourself for having them. Fighting reality is like wrestling with the tide, utterly exhausting and ultimately futile. Acceptance, on the other hand, is like understanding the current. It allows you to stop wasting precious energy struggling against the inevitable and instead ask, okay, given that this is the reality of the situation, including my own feelings about it, what is the wisest, most constructive, most value-aligned thing I can do next? What part of this is within my control right now? It allows you to work with the currents of life, navigating skillfully rather than being constantly battered by your resistance to them. And what guides these choices you make in the present, navigating the reality you accept? What fuels that steady beam from your inner lighthouse? It's your chosen character. It's the core values you decide to embody, regardless of the external weather. Think about qualities like kindness, courage, honesty, justice, fairness, patience, self-discipline, perseverance, compassion. In any situation, no matter how difficult or unfair it feels, you always retain the opportunity to choose a response aligned with these virtues. You can choose to act with integrity, even when deception seems easier. You can choose to show compassion, even when you feel slighted or angry. You can choose to face difficulty with courage, even when fear is whispering in your ear. You can choose patience, even when frustration is boiling up. These choices, especially the small ones made consistently day after day, are like adding fuel to your lighthouse lamp. They build an inner reservoir of strength, a deep and abiding self-respect that isn't dependent on external validation or circumstances. What happens to you is temporary and often random, but who you consciously choose to be in response, that is the enduring structure you build within yourself, moment by moment, choice by deliberate choice. And as you stand tending your inner lighthouse, remember also to look out from its tower and see the countless other lights flickering across the vast ocean. Every single person you meet, every life you brush against, is another vessel navigating its own unique journey, facing its own private storms, carrying its own cargo of hopes, dreams, fears, and sorrows. Recognizing this profound shared humanity can be incredibly grounding. It dissolves the illusion of isolation, reminding you that struggle and vulnerability are part of the human condition, not a personal failing. It can soften judgment, both of others and of yourself. It fosters empathy, allowing you to connect with others on a deeper level. It reminds you that you're not alone in the darkness or the struggle. We are all, in our own ways, trying to find our way through these unpredictable waters. Offering a helping hand when you can, speaking a kind word, simply acknowledging another's struggle with compassion. These acts not only help others, but they also strengthen our collective resilience and make the entire human journey feel a little less daunting, a little more connected. So, learning to navigate life's unpredictable ocean, finding that inner stability amidst the chaos, isn't about discovering some secret map to bypass all storms. Such a map doesn't exist. It's about learning to trust, cultivate, and rely upon your inner lighthouse. It's about diligently, consciously tending to your thoughts and interpretations. It's about focusing your energy on your choices and actions, the things truly within your sphere of control. It's about anchoring yourself firmly again and again in the reality of the present moment. It's about bravely accepting the things you cannot change, including difficult realities and painful emotions. And it's about consistently choosing to act with character, guided by your deepest values, regardless of the external circumstances. This is not a quick fix or a simple checklist. It's a lifelong practice, an ongoing journey of learning and growth. It requires commitment, patience, and a great deal of self-compassion. Some days the light will burn brightly, and you'll navigate with clarity and confidence. Other days the fog will roll in thick. The light will seem dim, and you'll feel lost, unsteady, or discouraged. That's okay. That's part of the process. The goal isn't to achieve some mythical state of constant, unshakable perfection or emotionless calm. It's about learning to navigate the full, messy, beautiful spectrum of human experience with increasing wisdom, grace, courage, and resilience. It's about knowing deep in your bones that even when the world outside feels utterly chaotic and overwhelming, you can always return to the sanctuary within. You can always come back to your breath. You can always choose your next thought. You can always decide on your next action, however small. That power, that freedom, that inner light, it is yours. It's inherent within you right now, waiting. It's not something you need to acquire. It's something you need to uncover, to nurture, to trust. Begin today. Begin now in this moment. Just take the next small step. Tend to your light. You are the keeper of your inner lighthouse. Let it shine steadily and bravely through whatever waters lie ahead. You've got this. Finding strength where you stumble, the path through obstacles. Life has this undeniable way, doesn't it, of presenting us with obstacles? It seems almost like a fundamental rule of the game. You set out on a path, feeling clear and confident. Maybe things are going smoothly for a while, and then suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, bam, there's a barrier across the road. A steep, unexpected climb. A confusing detour sign sending you down an unknown track. Or maybe the ground just feels like thick mud, making every single step an effort. Now, what do these obstacles look like? Sometimes they are huge, external events. A serious health diagnosis, the loss of a job, a major financial crisis, a relationship ending abruptly, facing injustice or systemic barriers that seem immovable. These are the kinds of things that can shake us to our core, making us question everything. Other times, the obstacles are more internal, though no less challenging. Crippling self-doubt that stops you from pursuing a dream. Chronic procrastination fueled by fear of failure. A difficult pattern of behavior you can't seem to break. The struggle with anxiety or low mood, or simply feeling stuck in a rut, unable to find motivation or direction. And then there are the daily grinding obstacles, the frustrating technical glitch right before a deadline, the difficult colleague or client, the endless administrative tasks, the misunderstandings with loved ones, the sheer exhaustion of juggling multiple responsibilities. Whatever form they take, our first reaction is often the same: resistance, a feeling of, oh no, not this, frustration, anger maybe, fear, a sense of unfairness. Why me? Why now? I didn't need this. We instinctively want the obstacle to disappear. We see it purely as a negative, an impediment, something standing directly between us and the happiness, peace, or success we desire. We just want to get past it, get rid of it, get back to that smooth, easy path we imagine. But what if we dared to entertain a radical shift in perspective? What if we could train ourselves to look at these obstacles differently? Not as interruptions to a path, but as integral parts of the path itself? What if the challenges, the difficulties, the very things that cause us friction and make us stumble are not just hindrances, but are actually the necessary raw materials for forging a stronger, wiser, more capable, and more deeply human version of ourselves? Think about how growth actually happens in any area of life. Muscles don't strengthen by lifting air. They grow stronger by straining against resistance, against weights that feel heavy. Diamonds aren't formed in comfort. They are created under immense pressure deep within the earth. Patience isn't a quality learned when everything happens instantly according to our wishes. It is cultivated slowly, deliberately, in the agonizing moments of delay, frustration, setbacks, and waiting for things beyond our control. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It is the conscious choice to act despite the fear, to take a step forward even when your legs feel shaky. Resilience isn't the result of a life magically free from adversity. It is the powerful inner resource developed incrementally. Each time we encounter a setback, feel the pain, and make the choice to get back up, learn, adapt, and continue moving forward. Consider the specific obstacles you might be facing. That incredibly complex problem at work that feels overwhelming? It's demanding that you develop new levels of problem solving, creativity, perhaps forcing you to seek help and improve your collaboration skills. That difficult, emotionally charged conversation you need to have, it's offering you a real-world training ground, however uncomfortable, for practicing assertive communication, active listening, empathy, emotional regulation, and the courage to speak your truth kindly. That unexpected financial strain? It might be forcing a difficult but necessary reevaluation of priorities, teaching resourcefulness, or revealing the true value of non-material things. That internal battle with fear or self-doubt, engaging with it, understanding it, and acting despite it is precisely how you build self-confidence and inner fortitude. The obstacle itself, the external event, the internal feeling, the difficult circumstance is just a fact. It exists. In itself, it's neutral, like a block of uncarved stone. What gives it its ultimate power, its potential to either break us or to build us, is entirely dependent on our response to it. Our perception, this is impossible versus this is hard, but let's see. Chai. Our attitude, victimhood versus agency. Our choices, retreat versus engagement. We can choose to see the obstacle as an insurmountable wall, a definitive proof that we're unlucky or incapable, a valid reason to give up and turn back. And let's be honest, in the moment, it often genuinely feels that way. We can allow the obstacle to define us, to shrink our world, to make us bitter, resentful, cynical, or permanently defeated. Or we can make a different choice. A harder choice perhaps, but a more powerful one. We can choose to face the obstacle squarely. We can acknowledge the difficulty, the pain, the fear, without letting it paralyze us. And then we can start asking different, more empowering questions. Instead of getting stuck in the loop of, why is this happening to me? We can shift to, okay, this situation is here. It's real. Given that, what is one thing, however small, that is within my power to do right now? What internal strength like patience, perseverance, creativity, or courage is this situation inviting me to cultivate or express? What practical skill might I need to develop or improve to navigate this more effectively? Even if I can't change the external obstacle itself, how can I adjust my internal approach, my mindset, my expectations, my attitude? Is there anything valuable I can learn from this? Even if it's painful? Who could I ask for help or support with this? Looking back later, how might I want to have conducted myself through this challenge? Could there be an unexpected opportunity hidden within this difficulty, a chance to change direction, clarify values, or connect differently with others? This shift in questioning moves us from being a passive recipient of difficulty to becoming an active participant in our own lives. Even when circumstances are tough, it's about reclaiming our agency, focusing on our sphere of control, our responses, even when the external situation feels uncontrollable. Remember the blacksmith forging steel? The intense heat of the forge represents the pressures and discomforts of life's challenges. The repeated, forceful blows of the hammer represent the effort, the struggle, the active engagement required to face those challenges. It's precisely this encounter with intense heat and deliberate hammering, this interaction with hardship, that transforms the raw, potentially brittle iron into strong, flexible, resilient steel, capable of holding an edge and serving a purpose. Our character, our inner strength, is forged in a strikingly similar way. Not in the lukewarm waters of ease, but in the fiery trials of difficulty, shaped and strengthened by the way we choose to meet the challenges that life inevitably hammers against us. This perspective fundamentally changes our relationship with difficulty. Obstacles cease to be merely frustrating impediments to our desired life. They become potential catalysts for transformation. They become the very curriculum for learning life's most important lessons. They are invitations often arriving in unwelcome disguises to step up, to dig deeper, to discover resilience we didn't know we had, to grow into more capable, compassionate, and complete human beings. It means that finding meaning and purpose isn't solely dependent on achieving smooth success or constant happiness. Often a deeper, more enduring sense of meaning arises from the process of navigating difficulty with integrity, from the courage mustered in the face of fear, from the wisdom gained through painful experience, from the compassion discovered through shared struggle, from the sheer resilience demonstrated by choosing to keep going. The meaning is woven into the fabric of the struggle itself. Let's be clear. This is absolutely not about seeking out pain or pretending that hardship isn't genuinely hard. It's not about toxic positivity or dismissing real suffering. Pain is real, loss is real, difficulty is real. This is about recognizing that since hardship and obstacles are an inevitable part of the human experience, we have a choice in how we relate to them. We can let them diminish us, or we can choose to engage with them in a way that allows us to extract value, learn, and grow stronger because of them, not just in spite of them. It's about transforming stumbling blocks that trip us up into stepping stones that help us climb higher. It means that no experience, no matter how challenging, has to be entirely wasted if we can find a way to learn from it and integrate its lessons. So as you move through your day, as you encounter the inevitable bumps, frustrations, and perhaps even significant barriers on your path, try holding this perspective gently in your awareness. When you feel that familiar resistance, that urge to retreat or despair, pause. Take a breath and ask yourself, what if this challenge isn't just in my way, but somehow is the way forward? What strength is this situation asking me to uncover within myself? What lesson is embedded here, waiting to be learned? How can I engage with this, not just with passive endurance, but with active courage and a willingness to be shaped by the experience? The path to becoming who we are capable of being often leads directly through the very difficulties we would rather avoid. It's in facing them, wrestling with them, learning from them, that we discover our true strength, build unshakable character, and find that the obstacle itself has paved the way. May you find unexpected strength and wisdom on your path, precisely where you stumble. Waking up to your life, finding richness in the here and now. Does life ever feel like it's rushing past in a blur? Weeks turn into months, months into years, and sometimes we look up and wonder where the time actually went. We get caught up in routines, in chasing future goals, in worrying about things that might happen, or dwelling on things that already did. We live in our heads a lot, planning, remembering, analyzing, and sometimes we forget to fully arrive in the only time we ever truly have, right now. It's easy to fall into this pattern. Our minds are like time machines, constantly jumping forwards and backwards. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when I get that promotion, or things will be better once this stressful period is over, or if only I hadn't done that in the past. We defer our peace, our joy, our very sense of living to some future condition or endlessly lament a past we cannot change. We live on autopilot, ticking off days, often missing the quiet beauty and simple wonders woven into the fabric of our ordinary moments. But what if there was a way to gently shake ourselves awake? A way to cut through the noise and distraction and truly land in our lives, right here, right now. There's a perspective, an awareness that can act like a powerful lens, bringing the present moment into sharp, vibrant focus. It's the simple, undeniable truth that this life, this experience, this precious time we have, it's finite. It won't last forever. Now, hearing that might initially feel uncomfortable, maybe even a little scary. We tend to push thoughts of endings away, but framing it not as something morbid, but as something clarifying can be incredibly powerful. Think of a beautiful painting. It's the frame around it that defines its edges, that contains its beauty, that makes us appreciate the artwork within the frame even more. The awareness that our time is limited acts like that frame for our lives. It doesn't diminish the picture, it highlights its preciousness. It underscores the value of this canvas, this moment, this day. When we gently hold this awareness, it can radically shift our perspective on almost everything. Suddenly the question becomes, if my time is truly valuable and limited, how do I want to spend it? What truly matters most to me? Are the things I'm worrying about today really worth the precious energy they consume? Are the grudges I'm holding on to worth the space they take up in my heart and mind? Are the fears that hold me back from trying something new or speaking my truth really more important than living fully? What small joys, what simple beauties am I overlooking in my rush to get somewhere else? This awareness isn't meant to paralyze us with fear. It's meant to liberate us. It liberates us from the tyranny of the trivial. It helps us distinguish between what genuinely matters: connection, kindness, learning, growth, love, contributing in our own way, and what is ultimately just noise or distraction. It encourages us to stop sweating the small stuff quite so much. And most importantly, it draws our attention powerfully and urgently back to the present moment. If our time is finite, then this moment, this very breath you are taking right now is incredibly precious. It's a gift. It's the only point where life is actually happening. This awareness invites us to wake up to the sensory details of our existence right now. Can you feel the chair supporting you, or your feet on the floor? Can you really taste the next bite of food or sip of drink? Can you truly listen to the sounds around you, not just the loud ones, but the subtle ones too? Can you look at the face of a loved one and truly see them, appreciate their presence in this moment? Can you notice the feeling of the air on your skin, the color of the sky, the intricate pattern on a leaf? This isn't about forcing some intense mystical experience. It's simply about paying attention. It's about showing up for your own life while it's happening. When we practice this, the ordinary moments start to reveal their quiet magic. Washing the dishes can become a moment of mindful presence. A walk outside can become a sensory feast. A simple conversation can become a point of genuine connection. Living with this gentle awareness of life's precious finitude also encourages us to live more intentionally, more authentically, more courageously. Why postpone joy? Why put off telling someone you love them? Why wait to start that creative project, learn that skill, or take that small step towards a meaningful goal? The awareness that time is not guaranteed can be a powerful antidote to procrastination, especially when it comes to the things that truly nourish our souls. It nudges us to align our actions more closely with our deepest values, to spend our time in ways we won't later regret. Furthermore, this perspective naturally cultivates gratitude. When we recognize that nothing is permanent, that everything we have, our health, even with its imperfections, our relationships, our abilities, the roof over our head, the food we eat, the simple fact of being conscious and alive right now is a temporary gift. It's hard not to feel a sense of thankfulness. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's lacking to what's present. It opens our eyes to the abundance already here, woven into the fabric of our daily lives, an abundance we often overlook when we take things for granted. So the invitation here isn't to dwell morbidly on endings. It's the opposite. It's to use the quiet understanding of life's impermanence as a catalyst to live more fully, more richly, now. Let it be a reminder to savor the good moments, to learn from the difficult ones, to connect authentically with others, to act with kindness and integrity, and to appreciate the simple, profound gift of being alive today. Let this awareness gently guide you. Let it help you sift the important from the unimportant. Let it encourage you to put down the heavy burdens of past regrets and future anxieties, and to step fully into the light of the present moment. Because this moment right now is where your entire life unfolds. It's precious, it's fleeting, and it's yours to experience. Wake up to it, embrace it, live it. Let this awareness gently guide you. Let it help you sift the important from the unimportant. Let it encourage you to put down the heavy burdens of past regrets and future anxieties, and to step fully into the light of the present moment. Because this moment right now is where your entire life unfolds. It's precious, it's fleeting, and it's yours to experience. Wake up to it, embrace it, live it. The Inner Scorecard, finding peace in a world focused on results. It's so easy in this world to get caught up in the game of comparison and external validation, isn't it? We look around, consciously or unconsciously, measuring ourselves against others. Are we successful enough? Liked enough? Do we have the right job, the right house, the right image? We often find ourselves chasing applause, seeking approval, trying to win according to a scorecard that society seems to have handed us. Likes on social media, job titles, bank balances, compliments from others. These become the metrics by which we judge our own worth. We hustle, we strive. We often contort ourselves trying to impress, trying to measure up, trying to win this external game. And sometimes we do. We get the praise, we achieve the goal, we get the external validation we were seeking. And it might feel good for a moment, but often that feeling is fleeting, isn't it? The goalposts shift. There's always someone doing better. The applause fades, and we find ourselves back on that treadmill, chasing the next hit of external approval. Feeling anxious about losing what we've gained, or empty even when we seem to have won. Why is this chase so often unsatisfying and stressful? Because the criteria on that external scorecard, other people's opinions, specific outcomes, societal definitions of success are fundamentally outside of our complete control. People's opinions are fickle and often based on incomplete information. Outcomes depend on countless factors beyond our effort, including luck, timing, and the actions of others. Basing our self-worth on things we don't fully control is like building a house on shifting sand. It's inherently unstable and anxiety-provoking. But what if there was another way to measure a life well lived? What if you could carry your own scorecard, one based not on fickle external results or the fleeting opinions of others, but on something entirely within your control, something stable and internal? What if you focused on your own character, your own intentions, your own efforts? Imagine having an inner scorecard. The criteria on the scorecard aren't things like, did I get the promotion? Or did everyone like my presentation? Or am I richer than my neighbor? Instead, the questions might be, did I act with kindness in that situation, regardless of how the other person responded? Did I speak my truth honestly and respectfully, even if it was difficult or unpopular? Did I put forth my best effort on that task, regardless of the final outcome? Was I fair and just in my dealings with others? Did I face that challenge with courage, even though I felt afraid? Did I act with patience and understanding when things got frustrating? Did I live in alignment with my deepest values today? These are questions about your input, your character in action, your integrity. And the amazing thing is, the answers to these questions are largely, if not entirely, within your control. You can't always control whether your kindness is reciprocated, but you can control whether you offer kindness. You can't guarantee that your best effort will lead to success, but you can control the effort you put in. You can't control whether others agree with your honest opinion, but you can control whether you express it with integrity. Shifting your focus to this inner scorecard is incredibly liberating. It frees you from the exhausting, endless chase for external validation. Your sense of self-worth stops being a roller coaster, dependent on daily results or social feedback, and starts becoming something more stable, more grounded, rooted in your own actions and intentions. Think about it. If you did your absolute best on a project, applying your skills diligently and acting with integrity throughout the process, but external factors caused it to fail, the external scorecard might read failure. But your inner scorecard could still read success because you controlled what you could control: your effort, your attitude, your character. You showed up fully. Conversely, if you achieve success through luck, cutting corners, or treating others poorly, the external world might applaud you. But your inner scorecard, if you're honest with yourself, would reflect that lack of integrity. Living by an inner scorecard requires honesty with yourself, of course. It requires defining what values are truly important to you. What does it mean for you to live a good life? What kind of person do you aspire to be, regardless of external circumstances? Maybe it's compassion, honesty, courage, justice, perseverance, humility, generosity. Taking some time to clarify your core values gives you the clear criteria for your own internal measure. When you start measuring yourself by your own effort and character, a quiet confidence begins to grow. It's not the loud arrogance that sometimes comes with external success, but a deeper, more resilient self-respect. You know what you stand for. You know you are doing your best to live up to your own standards. The opinions of others, while perhaps still nice to receive, lose their power to define you or destabilize you. Criticism might still sting, but it doesn't have to crush you if you know you acted with integrity. Praise feels good, but you don't become dependent on it for your sense of worth. This doesn't mean you stop caring about doing good work or achieving goals. Ambition and striving can still be part of your life, but the reason you strive changes. You strive because the effort itself aligns with your value of excellence or perseverance. You aim for success because it might allow you to contribute more effectively, aligned with your value of service or justice. The focus shifts from the outcome as the sole measure of worth to the process and the character expressed along the way. Living this way brings a profound sense of peace. You are no longer constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering what others think, or anxiously comparing yourself. You are focused on the task at hand, living this day, this moment, with as much integrity, effort, and alignment with your values as you can muster. That is where true satisfaction lies, not in the roar of the crowd, but in the quiet inner knowledge that you are living authentically, according to your own well-considered scorecard. So perhaps today, consider what goes on your inner scorecard. What values matter most to you? And how can you focus on embodying those values through your intentions and efforts, regardless of the results or reactions you encounter? Try measuring your day not just by what you accomplished externally, but by the character you brought to your actions. You might find it leads to a deeper, more stable, and more meaningful sense of a life well lived. In it, you are not alone, finding strength in our deep connection. Do you ever feel small? Sometimes maybe late at night, or when facing a big challenge, or even just lost in the hustle of daily life, we can feel incredibly isolated, like we're just one tiny person navigating a vast, complex, and sometimes indifferent world. Our own problems, our worries, our fears can loom so large in our minds that they seem like the only reality. We get caught in the bubble of me, my struggles, my goals, my anxieties. It's a natural human tendency, this focus on the self, but it can also be a lonely and often overwhelming place to live. We can feel adrift, disconnected, solely responsible for carrying the weight of our own existence. But what if we could gently shift our perspective? What if we could learn to consciously zoom out from that tight focus on our individual selves and see the much, much bigger picture we are all intrinsically part of? Imagine pulling back like a camera ascending high above. First, you see yourself within your home, then your street, your neighborhood, perhaps a vibrant city full of life like Cebu, or countless others across the globe. Keep pulling back and you see the whole island, the archipelago, the continent, the entire beautiful blue planet spinning in the vastness of space. Pull back even further and you see our solar system, our galaxy, and the seemingly infinite expanse of the universe stretching out beyond comprehension. What happens when we take this wider view? Often two things occur. First, our own personal problems, while still real and needing attention, tend to shrink in relative size. Placed against the backdrop of immense time and space, the things that felt all-consuming might regain a more manageable perspective. The urgency might lessen, the panic might subside slightly. We get a little breathing room. Second, and perhaps more profoundly, we start to see not just separation, but connection. We see that we are not isolated dots, but intricate parts of a vast, interconnected web. Start with humanity. Look closely at the people around you, those you love, those you know casually, even those you find difficult or consider strangers. Beneath the surface, differences in appearance, background, beliefs, or circumstances, what do we find? We find shared fundamentals. Every single person experiences joy and sorrow. Everyone knows hope and fear. Everyone seeks connection, understanding, and a sense of purpose. Everyone feels physical pain, experiences loss, and ultimately shares the same fate. We all need air to breathe, water to drink, food to eat, shelter, and some form of community to thrive. We are variations on a theme, expressions of the same fundamental human consciousness. The person you pass on the street, the person on the news from halfway around the world, their inner life, their capacity for feeling is fundamentally like yours. Recognizing this deep, shared humanity is the foundation of empathy. When we truly see the us in them, it becomes harder to judge, easier to understand, and more natural to feel compassion. But the connection doesn't stop there. Zoom out further, beyond just our species. We are deeply interwoven with the natural world. The air we breathe is cycled through plants. The water we drink flows through rivers and oceans. The food we eat comes from the earth. We are part of the planet's intricate ecosystem, not separate from it or masters of it. Spending time in nature, feeling the sun on our skin, listening to the rhythm of the waves, walking amongst ancient trees, observing the intricate lives of insects or birds can powerfully remind us of this belonging. We are earthlings made of the same elements as the stars, participating in the same grand cycles of life, growth, decay, and renewal that govern everything on this planet. Feeling this connection can bring a sense of grounding, peace, and belonging that transcends our personal anxieties. We are part of something much larger, older, and more enduring than our individual lives. What are the practical implications of truly feeling this interconnectedness, this sympathia, as some ancient thinkers called it? The effects can be transformative. Firstly, it cultivates deep compassion. When we see ourselves in others, understanding their struggles as reflections of our own potential struggles, genuine empathy arises. We become less quick to anger, less prone to harsh judgment. We recognize that people's actions often stem from their own pain, fear, or conditioning. This doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but it allows us to respond with more wisdom and less reactive hostility. We start to treat others as we would wish to be treated, not just as a moral rule, but because we recognize our shared essence. Secondly, it fosters cooperation and a sense of shared responsibility. If we are all connected, then the well-being of the whole is intrinsically linked to our own well-being. The idea of purely selfish success becomes less appealing, even illogical. We realize that thriving happens together, supporting our community, caring for our environment, working towards common goals. These actions stem naturally from recognizing our interdependence. We understand that contributing positively to the web, strengthening its threads, ultimately benefits everyone, including ourselves. It encourages us to think beyond narrow self-interest and consider the greater good. Thirdly, it helps reduce the tyranny of the ego. When we see ourselves as part of a vast, interconnected whole, our personal dramas, desires, and grievances tend to lose some of their inflated importance. The ego, that part of us focused on me, myself, and I, shrinks down to a more appropriate size. We become less preoccupied with petty slights, less obsessed with personal status or recognition, and more able to laugh at our own foibles. This doesn't mean self-neglect, but rather a healthier perspective on our place in the grand scheme of things. It brings humility and frees up enormous energy previously spent on defending or promoting the isolated self. Fourthly, it can provide a profound sense of purpose and belonging. Instead of feeling like isolated individuals striving alone, we can find meaning in playing our part, however small, within the larger tapestry. Our purpose might be found in contributing to our family, our community, our work, or the health of the planet, understanding that these contributions ripple outwards through the interconnected web. Knowing we are part of something bigger than ourselves provides an anchor, a sense of belonging that can weather personal storms. How can we actively cultivate this feeling of interconnectedness in our daily lives? It doesn't always happen automatically. It often requires conscious practice. Practice empathy. Make a conscious effort to imagine the perspectives and feelings of others, especially those different from you or those you find challenging. Ask yourself, what might they be going through? Spend time in nature. Regularly immerse yourself in natural environments and consciously notice the intricate connections, how plants, animals, weather, and earth interact. Feel yourself as part of that system. Reflect on shared humanity. When interacting with people, consciously look for common ground, shared emotions, and universal human experiences beneath the surface differences. Read diverse perspectives. Engage with stories, literature, and news from different cultures and backgrounds to broaden your understanding of the human experience. Engage in acts of service, helping others, contributing to your community, or working for a cause larger than yourself directly reinforces the feeling of connection and shared purpose. Mindfulness in contemplation. Practices like meditation can help quiet the ego's chatter and allow a felt sense of connection to arise more naturally. Contemplate the origins of everyday objects, the food you eat, the clothes you wear, tracing them back through countless hands and natural processes. Embracing this perspective of deep interconnectedness isn't about losing our individuality. It's about understanding that our individuality finds its true meaning and richness within the context of the whole. It's a shift from feeling like a lonely island to realizing we are part of a vast, intricate, and supportive continent. This understanding offers a profound antidote to the anxiety, loneliness, and overwhelm that can often plague our modern lives. It reminds us that we are not alone, that we belong to something immense and meaningful. It calls us to live with greater compassion, cooperation, and a lighter sense of self. It invites us to find peace not by isolating ourselves, but by recognizing and celebrating our fundamental unity with all of life. May you feel that connection today, and may it bring you strength, perspective, and a deep sense of belonging to this incredible, interconnected world. Finding freedom by understanding your reactions. Think about the last time you felt really upset. Maybe it was a surge of anger, a wave of anxiety, a deep pang of sadness, or just that simmering frustration that can hijack your whole day. Where did that feeling truly come from? Our immediate, almost instinctive answer is usually to point outwards. I'm angry because that person cut me off. I'm anxious because I have that presentation tomorrow. I'm sad because things didn't work out the way I hoped. I'm frustrated because the technology isn't working. We naturally link our emotional state directly to the external event or circumstance. It seems obvious, doesn't it? Event happens, feeling follows. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the external event is only part of the equation? What if the real power to shape our emotional experience lies not in the event itself, but somewhere else, somewhere inside us? There's a profound insight echoed by wise thinkers for centuries that suggests exactly this. It proposes that it's rarely the external events themselves that directly cause our distress. Instead, it's the meaning we assign to them, the beliefs we hold about them, the judgments we instantly layer onto them that are the true source of our emotional turmoil. The event happens, yes, but then there's a crucial, often lightning-fast step where our mind interprets that event, slaps a label on it, tells a story about it, and that interpretation, that judgment, is what triggers the feeling. Imagine a simple example. It starts raining unexpectedly. Person A, who was planning a picnic, might immediately think, "Oh no, this is terrible. My whole day is ruined," and feel intense disappointment and frustration. Person B, a farmer whose crops desperately need water, might think, "Wonderful, this is exactly what we needed," and feel relief and gratitude. Person C, who was planning to stay inside and read anyway, might simply notice, "It's raining," and feel completely neutral. The external event, the rain, is exactly the same for all three. What differs dramatically are their judgments about the rain, driven by their expectations and perspectives. And it's those judgments, not the rain itself, that create their distinct emotional responses. Let's break down this process further, because it happens constantly in our daily lives, often below the level of conscious awareness. Event, impression. Something happens in the world, or someone says or does something. This is the raw data, the objective fact. For example, your boss gives you critical feedback on a report. Automatic judgment/belief. Your mind instantly interprets this event based on your underlying beliefs, assumptions, and past experiences. For example, "This means I'm incompetent," or "My boss hates me," or "I'll never succeed here," or "This criticism is unfair." Emotional behavioral response. This judgment then triggers an emotional reaction and often a corresponding behavior. For example, feeling anxious, defensive, or demotivated, perhaps withdrawing, arguing back, or working obsessively to prove the judgment wrong. Notice the crucial link? It's that middle step, the judgment, the interpretation, the story we tell ourselves about the event. That's where the emotional charge comes from. The feedback itself might just be words on a page or spoken in a meeting. The event. The suffering comes from the meaning we instantly assign. "I'm incompetent. This is a disaster." We make these kinds of judgments all the time, often falling into predictable, unhelpful patterns. Catastrophizing. Taking a setback or a potential problem and blowing it completely out of proportion. "I made a mistake in that email now, I'll probably get fired. If this date doesn't go well, I'll be alone forever." We jump to the worst possible conclusion. Personalizing. Assuming everything is about us or blaming ourselves unnecessarily. "They didn't invite me to the meeting, they must be excluding me intentionally. The team project failed, it's all my fault." We take things personally even when they might have nothing to do with us. Mind reading. Assuming we know what others are thinking, usually negatively about us. I know they thought my comment was stupid. He looked at me funny. He must disapprove. We project our own insecurities onto others without any real evidence. Demanding shoulds, insisting that reality or other people should be different from how they are. This traffic shouldn't be happening. He should have known better. Life shouldn't be this hard. These shoulds set us up for constant frustration and resentment because they argue with reality. Labeling, attaching fixed, negative labels to ourselves or others based on behavior. I forgot the appointment, I'm such an idiot. He made a mistake, he's completely unreliable. These labels are overly simplistic and deny the complexity of human beings. These automatic, often negative judgments act like distorted lenses through which we view the world. They color our experience, fuel negative emotions, and often lead to unhelpful reactions. So what can we do? Can we change these deeply ingrained patterns? Yes, absolutely. The key lies in creating a little bit of space, a pause between the event, the impression, and our habitual reaction. It's in that space, however brief, that our power lies. It's the space where we can become aware of our automatic judgment before it completely takes over. Think of it like hitting the pause button on a video player just before the dramatic reaction scene. In that pause, we can practice the art of examining our initial judgment. We can hold it up to the light and ask some clarifying questions. Is this thought really objectively true? What is the actual evidence for and against it? Am I jumping to conclusions? For example, is it fact that I'm incompetent? Or did I just receive feedback on one specific report? Is this way of thinking helpful right now? Is catastrophizing actually helping me solve the problem, or just making me feel worse? Is blaming myself constructively leading to learning, or just paralyzing me? Is there another, perhaps more balanced or constructive way to look at this situation? Can I reframe this? For example, could this feedback be an opportunity to learn and improve? Maybe the traffic is annoying, but it's outside my control. Perhaps I can use this time to listen to something interesting? What part of this situation is actually within my control, and what part isn't? Connecting back to the dichotomy of control. Can I control the traffic? No. Can I control my reaction to it? Yes. Can I control someone else's opinion of me? Not entirely. Can I control my own actions and integrity? Yes. Can I separate the objective fact from my interpretation? What actually happened versus the story I'm telling myself about what happened? For example, fact, it's raining. Interpretation, my day is ruined. Fact, I made a mistake. Interpretation, I'm a failure. This process of pausing, observing our thoughts, and questioning our initial judgments isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending things don't hurt. Emotions are natural human responses. Instead, it's about ensuring our emotions stem from a clearer, more accurate perception of reality, rather than from distorted, unhelpful interpretations. It's about cultivating a degree of objectivity, seeing things as they are without automatically adding layers of unnecessary negativity, personalization, or catastrophe. The ancient Stoics called this the discipline of assent, learning to give our agreement, assent, only to judgments that are accurate and rational, rather than automatically buying into every fleeting thought or impression. Mastering this skill, and it truly is a skill that requires ongoing practice, is profoundly liberating. It doesn't mean difficult things won't happen anymore. Life will still present challenges, setbacks, losses, and frustrations. But our experience of these things changes dramatically. We become less like a small boat tossed helplessly on the waves of circumstance, and more like a skilled sailor who can navigate those waves with greater stability and resilience. Why? Because we learn to manage the meaning we assign to the waves. We suffer less from our reactions to events, even when the events themselves are painful. This leads to greater emotional stability. We're less prone to explosive anger, crippling anxiety, or deep despair triggered by everyday occurrences. We develop resilience, bouncing back more quickly from setbacks because we don't automatically interpret them as personal failures or catastrophes. We find a deeper sense of inner peace, a calm that isn't dependent on external conditions always being perfect. Because we know our peace comes primarily from within, from our ability to manage our own minds, our own judgments. This is not an overnight transformation. It's a lifelong practice. It requires patience, self-awareness, and a willingness to gently challenge our own ingrained thought patterns. There will be times we forget, times we react automatically, times we get swept away by old habits. That's okay. The key is self-compassion and gentle persistence. Each time we manage to pause, each time we question a negative judgment, each time we choose a more balanced perspective, we are strengthening that inner muscle. So the invitation today is simply to start noticing. Pay attention to your own reactions. When you feel a strong negative emotion arise, see if you can gently hit that pause button. Ask yourself, what was the event? And what was the judgment or story I instantly told myself about it? Is that story really true? Is it helpful? Just bringing this awareness to the process is the first, most crucial step. The ultimate freedom lies in realizing that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we hold immense power in how we choose to interpret and respond to what happens. Our judgments shape our reality. By learning to choose them more wisely, we unlock the door to lasting inner peace and resilience. No matter what storms may rage outside, start observing today. The power is within you. Embracing it all. Finding freedom in loving your fate. How much energy do we spend fighting reality? Think about it. How often do we find ourselves pushing back against what is? Wishing things were different. Lamenting past events we can't change. Resenting circumstances we didn't choose. Feeling frustrated by setbacks, angered by perceived injustices, or heartbroken by losses. This struggle, this internal war against the way things are, is a fundamental part of the human condition. It's exhausting, isn't it? It drains our vitality, clouds our judgment, and often leaves us feeling bitter, powerless, or perpetually dissatisfied. We yearn for a life free from difficulty, a smooth path without obstacles. And we suffer when reality inevitably fails to match that ideal. We've perhaps explored before the initial step towards peace, acceptance, learning to acknowledge reality, especially the parts we cannot control, without constant mental resistance. Recognizing that the traffic jam is happening, that the past is unchangeable, that other people will act in ways we don't like. This acceptance alone is a huge step, a difficult practice that can bring significant relief. It stops the futile expenditure of energy involved in arguing with what already is. It allows us to regain a measure of calm and focus on what we can actually influence: our own responses, our own actions. But what if there was a step beyond mere acceptance? What if, instead of just tolerating the difficult, unwelcome, or painful parts of our lives, we could learn to genuinely embrace them? What if we could cultivate an attitude not just of resignation, but of affirmation, saying a wholehearted yes to our entire existence, exactly as it unfolds, with all its joys and sorrows, triumphs and failures, ease and hardship? What if we could learn to, in a sense, love our fate? This idea, sometimes called Amor, Fati, or love of fate, might sound strange, even impossible or undesirable at first hearing. Love the things that cause pain, embrace suffering, appreciate misfortune. It seems counterintuitive, perhaps even masochistic or dangerously passive. So before we explore why anyone might aspire to such a perspective, it's absolutely crucial to clarify what this doesn't mean. Loving your fate is not about passivity or giving up. It does not mean you stop trying to improve your circumstances where you have influence. It does not mean you shouldn't work to prevent future misfortunes or strive to make the world a better place. You still make plans, exert effort, stand up for justice, protect yourself and others. Amor Fati primarily applies to things outside your direct control, particularly past events that cannot be changed, and presents circumstances that are already fate's accomplice. It's about your attitude towards the unchangeable fabric of reality, not an excuse for inaction within your sphere of influence. You still choose your actions, your virtues, your efforts. That remains your sacred duty. And loving your fate is also not about pretending painful things feel good. It's not about denying suffering or putting on a fake smile when faced with tragedy. Pain is real, grief is real, disappointment is real. Amor Fati doesn't ask you to enjoy these feelings. Rather, it invites you to accept the reality of the event and the accompanying pain, and then to go a step further, to see this event, however unwelcome in isolation, as an integral, even necessary part of the unique, complex, and ultimately whole tapestry of your specific life. It's about finding value or meaning within the larger context, even when the isolated event is deeply undesirable. And crucially, loving your fate is not simple fatalism. It's not believing that everything is rigidly predetermined and your choices don't matter. Your choices matter immensely. They determine your character, your response, your contribution. Amor Fati is about accepting the results of the infinitely complex interplay between your choices, the choices of others, and the laws of nature results which often unfold in ways you didn't plan or desire. It's about accepting the present reality that has emerged from this web of causes and embracing that reality as the ground upon which you must now act. So, if it's not passivity, denial, or fatalism, why would anyone strive to cultivate such a seemingly difficult perspective? What is the profound power hidden within the idea of loving one's fate? First, there's the undeniable logic of conserving energy and finding peace. As we've touched upon, fighting reality is exhausting and futile. Arguing with what is only creates internal friction and suffering. Acceptance brings relief. Amor Fati takes this further by actively embracing reality. By saying yes to it, you not only cease fighting, but you potentially align yourself with it. You move from resistance to affirmation. This dissolves resentment, bitterness, and the feeling of being wronged by life. It fosters a deep inner peace that isn't dependent on circumstances being pleasant. Second, it stems from recognizing the deep interconnectedness of all things. Every event in your life, good or bad, is part of an unbroken chain of cause and effect, stretching back infinitely. To wish away a single difficult event, a past mistake, a painful loss, a challenging circumstance is, in a sense, to wish away the entire chain that led you to this exact moment, to being the person you are now. The lessons learned, often only learned through hardship. The strengths developed, often only forged in adversity. The perspectives gained, the relationships formed or deepened, all are interwoven. Loving your fate means recognizing that you cannot cherry-pick reality. To affirm your existence now requires affirming all the steps, even the painful ones, that brought you here. It's accepting the whole package deal of your unique life. Third, it fully integrates the understanding that obstacles are often the way. If challenges are what shape us, build our resilience, and teach us wisdom, as explored in previous thoughts, then Amor Fati takes the next logical step. It doesn't just tolerate these character-forging obstacles. It welcomes them as necessary ingredients in our growth. It sees the difficult parts not as flaws in the design, but as essential elements that contribute to the strength and beauty of the final structure. It's like appreciating the rough, unpolished parts of a natural landscape just as much as the smooth, easy parts, recognizing that both contribute to the overall majesty. Fourth, it allows us to find meaning in the entirety of our life story. Our lives are narratives, complex and unique. A story with only easy successes and constant happiness would be shallow and ultimately uninteresting. It's the struggles, the setbacks, the moments of doubt and despair, overcome or endured, that give a story depth, texture, and meaning. Loving your fate means loving your entire story, not just the highlight reel. It means seeing even the darkest chapters as contributing to the richness and complexity of the whole narrative, shaping the protagonist, you, in essential ways. It's embracing your specific, unrepeatable journey in all its messy, beautiful, tragic, and triumphant glory. How then can one possibly begin to cultivate such a perspective? It's undoubtedly a high peak to climb, requiring conscious effort and practice over time. Here are some potential steps on that path. Start with radical acceptance. Before you can embrace or love something, you must first fully accept its reality without reservation. Practice noticing when you are resisting what is wishing things were different, complaining mentally, feeling resentful. Gently, repeatedly, bring yourself back to acknowledging the simple fact. This is how things are right now. or that is what happened. No judgment, just acceptance of the reality. This is the essential foundation. Actively seek the lesson or opportunity. When faced with something difficult or unwanted that you cannot change, consciously shift your focus. Ask, given that this has happened is happening, what can I learn from it? How can this make me stronger, wiser, or more compassionate? Is there any hidden opportunity here? Perhaps for growth, connection, or a change in direction? This moves beyond passive acceptance towards actively extracting value. Practice strategic reframing. Consciously work to change the story you tell yourself about past or present difficulties. Instead of seeing them solely as negative events, try framing them as necessary steps, crucial lessons, or catalysts that led to positive changes or strengths you now possess. It was incredibly hard when X happened, and because of it, I discovered Y strength within myself. If I hadn't gone through Z difficulty, I wouldn't appreciate W as much as I do now. This reframing isn't about falsifying the past, but about highlighting the often overlooked positive consequences or necessities embedded within hardship. Cultivate gratitude for the whole tapestry. Expand your gratitude practice beyond just the obviously good things. Try to cultivate a sense of appreciation for the entirety of your life experience, recognizing that even the challenging parts contribute to who you are. Be grateful for the lessons learned through pain, the resilience built through struggle, the perspective gained through loss. See the beauty in the complexity, the light in the shadows. Develop trust in the larger process. Optionals, subtle. For some, Amor Fati involves a subtle sense of trust in the unfolding of life, even when it's incomprehensible or painful. This doesn't require specific religious beliefs, but rather a willingness to entertain the possibility that things might be unfolding in a way that serves a larger purpose, even if that purpose isn't immediately clear. It's a letting go of the need to understand or control everything, and finding peace in accepting the mystery. Make no mistake, truly living with Amor Fati is an immense challenge, perhaps the ultimate aspiration of a resilient and peaceful mind. It is not about achieving a state of perpetual bliss or indifference to pain. It is about transforming our fundamental relationship with reality itself. It's about moving from a state of conditional acceptance, I'll be okay if things go my way, to unconditional affirmation. Whatever happens, this is my path, and I embrace it. The peace that comes from this perspective is profound. It's a freedom from the exhausting cycle of resistance, resentment, and regret. It's an unwavering resilience that doesn't depend on external circumstances being favorable. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can face whatever life brings, not just by enduring it, but by finding value and meaning within it. It's the deep satisfaction of loving the life that is uniquely, unalterably yours. This is likely not a state one achieves overnight, or perhaps ever perfectly. It's a direction to face, an ideal to strive towards, a practice to engage in moment by moment, day by day. Be patient and compassionate with yourself on this journey. Simply holding the intention to embrace your fate, to say yes to your life in its entirety, can begin to shift your experience in powerful ways. So the invitation today is perhaps the most radical one yet. Can you look at your life with all its imperfections, its unexpected turns, its joys and its sorrows, and begin to cultivate a sense of acceptance, perhaps even affirmation for the whole thing? Can you start to see your unique fate not as a burden to be endured, but as the specific, challenging, beautiful path that is yours alone to walk, and perhaps, eventually, even to love? The journey starts with accepting this moment exactly as it is. Embrace what is, build what can be, the dance of acceptance in action. Life often presents us with what feels like a paradox, a deep tension between two powerful truths. On one hand, we sense the wisdom in acceptance, acknowledging reality as it is, letting go of struggles against things we cannot change, finding peace by yielding to the inevitable flow of life. We perhaps explored ideas like accepting difficult circumstances, embracing our unique fate, or understanding that much of what happens is outside our direct control. This path seems to lead towards tranquility, reducing friction and frustration. But on the other hand, we feel a powerful, innate drive to act, to strive, to create, to improve our situation and the world around us. We have hopes, dreams, and goals. We want to build a better future for ourselves, our families, our communities. We feel responsible for our choices and efforts. This path speaks to our agency, our power to make a difference, our desire to shape our destiny rather than simply endure it. So how do we reconcile these two? Doesn't accepting fate mean giving up on building the future? Doesn't striving for change mean rejecting reality as it is? It can feel like we have to choose one or the other, either passive acceptance or relentless and perhaps anxious striving. Is it possible to hold both? Can we simultaneously embrace what is while actively working towards what can be? The profound answer offered by much wisdom, including Stoic thought, is not only that we can, but that we must integrate both for a truly balanced, resilient, and fulfilling life. Acceptance and agency are not opposing forces, but complementary partners in the dance of living well. They operate in different yet interconnected domains. Let's clarify these domains. Think about time and influence. The domain of acceptance. Fate, past, present reality. This realm encompasses everything that has already happened and the current state of affairs that results from an infinitely complex web of past causes and conditions. This includes past events, your history, mistakes made, losses endured. The laws of nature, we need sleep, gravity exists, storms happen. The fundamental aspects of human nature, our capacity for both kindness and cruelty, our shared mortality, and the present circumstances that are beyond our immediate power to change. The current weather, the state of the economy, many actions of other people. Trying to mentally fight against these realities, wishing the past were different, demanding the present conform to our desires when it cannot, is the source of immense suffering. This is where acceptance, even radical acceptance or Amor, Fati, finds its crucial role. We must see what is clearly, without distortion or resistance, to have any grounding. The domain of agency, future choices, present actions, intentions, efforts. This realm encompasses our inner world and our capacity to act now and influence the future, however modestly. It includes our thoughts. We can examine and choose our judgments. Our values. We can decide what principles guide us. Our intentions. We can set goals aligned with our values. Our efforts. We can choose how diligently we apply ourselves. And our actions. We can make conscious choices about how we behave moment by moment. This is where our power lies. This is where we build our character. This is where we take responsibility for shaping the future, starting with ourselves. Understanding this distinction is key. Acceptance applies primarily to the unchangeable past and the present reality as it is given. Agency applies primarily to our response to that reality and the actions we take moving forward. Crucially, acceptance is not passive resignation. It is the necessary foundation for effective action. Imagine a sailor caught in a storm. If they deny the reality of the high winds and rough seas, wishing they weren't there, they cannot navigate effectively. They must first accept the conditions. Okay, the wind is strong from this direction, the waves are high, to make intelligent decisions about how to adjust the sails, steer the ship, and work with the elements to reach safety or their destination. Similarly, if we face a difficult reality, say, losing a job, denying it, or endlessly raging against the unfairness prevents us from taking constructive steps. Only by first accepting, okay, this has happened. I no longer have this job. Can we clear our minds and focus our energy effectively on what we can do next? Updating a resume, networking, assessing finances, learning new skills. Acceptance provides the clarity and stability needed to act wisely. Without it, our actions are often reactive, misguided, or fueled by desperation rather than clear intention. Furthermore, accepting what's outside our control frees up vast amounts of energy. Think about how much mental and emotional bandwidth is consumed by worrying about things we can't influence, ruminating on past mistakes, or feeling resentful about circumstances. When we practice acceptance, we gradually reclaim that energy. It's like closing down dozens of noisy, energy-draining background applications on a computer. This freed up energy can then be consciously redirected towards a domain of agency, towards what we can actually do. We have more focus for thoughtful planning, more resilience for sustained effort, more presence for making wise choices in the here and now. So how do we actively build the future from this grounded place of acceptance? The focus shifts. We recognize that we cannot guarantee specific external outcomes. We can't force success, control others' reactions, or ensure the world unfolds exactly as we wish. Instead, we focus our building efforts on what is within our domain. Cultivating virtue. We strive to act with kindness, courage, justice, wisdom, and self-discipline in all our endeavors. Building our character is building a better future, starting from within. Diligent effort. We apply ourselves fully to our tasks and goals, taking pride in the work itself, regardless of the potential reward or recognition. The quality of our effort is within our control. Thoughtful planning. Action. We use our reason to plan steps towards our goals, make informed decisions, and act deliberately based on our values, learning and adapting. We approach challenges as opportunities to learn and grow, adjusting our approach based on experience. Notice that the emphasis is on the quality of our input, our character, our effort, our choices rather than solely on the external output. We build the future primarily by building ourselves and acting with integrity in the present. But what happens when, despite our best efforts and virtuous actions, the future doesn't turn out as we hoped? What about setbacks, failures, unexpected obstacles that derail our plans? This is where the cycle loops back to acceptance. Just as we accept the past and present reality, we must also learn to accept the outcomes of our future-oriented actions, recognizing that they too are influenced by factors beyond our complete control. We did our best, we acted with integrity, and this is the result. Okay, now what? We accept this new reality, learn from it if possible, and then re-engage our agency. What is the next right action? How can we respond virtuously to this new situation? Until, therefore, acceptance and agency exist in a continuous, dynamic interplay. They are not contradictory, but deeply complementary, like breathing in and breathing out. We accept reality, breathe in, which gives us the grounding and energy to act effectively. Breathe out. We act, and then we accept the results of our actions. Breathe in again, which informs our next action. Breathe out again. This ongoing cycle fosters both inner peace through acceptance and meaningful engagement with the world through agency. It allows us to be both serene and active, resilient and purposeful. Think about resilience in the face of challenges, like the typhoons that are a part of life here, in places like Cebu. One must first accept the reality of the storm and its potential impact. Denying it is foolish. Then agency comes into play, preparing beforehand, securing homes, helping neighbors. After the storm, acceptance is needed again to face the damage, whatever it may be. And then agency returns with full force, clearing debris, rebuilding, supporting the community, learning how to be better prepared next time. Acceptance and action work hand in hand. So the invitation is to embrace this powerful duality. Don't feel you have to choose between peaceful acceptance and purposeful action. Cultivate both. Practice seeing reality clearly and accepting what you cannot change: the past, the present moment's unalterable facts. Feel the peace and freedom that comes from letting go of futile resistance. Then channel the energy you reclaim into what you can influence. Your choices, your efforts, your character, your actions today aimed at building a future aligned with your values. Act with courage and diligence. And when the results come, meet them with acceptance. Learn what you can and choose your next virtuous action. This harmonious dance between embracing what is and striving for what can be is the path to a life that is both deeply peaceful and profoundly meaningful. It allows us to navigate the complexities of existence with grace, resilience, and unwavering purpose. Embrace the stillness of acceptance. Engage the power of action. Find your balance in their rhythm. Your inner compass, living wisely through reason and understanding nature. In the vast, often confusing landscape of life, where do we turn for reliable guidance? We're constantly bombarded with external messages from society, culture, advertising, even well-meaning friends and family telling us what should make us happy, what success looks like, how we ought to live. We face complex situations, difficult choices, and moments where the path forward feels unclear. Shrouded in fog, it's easy to feel adrift, searching for a trustworthy map, a reliable compass to help us navigate the terrain. Especially when storms arise or the way forward seems uncertain, where can we find solid ground? What can we truly rely on to guide our steps? Ancient wisdom, particularly from Stoic thinkers, offers a compelling answer. Look within. Look to the remarkable capacity that distinguishes us as human beings, our capacity for reason. This isn't just about being logical or solving math problems. It's something much deeper and more comprehensive. It's our innate ability to think clearly, to understand the world around us, to reflect on our experiences, to examine our own thoughts and beliefs, to make conscious choices based on values, and to learn from our mistakes. It's the part of us that can step back from raw emotion or blind instinct and ask, what is truly going on here? What is the wise and virtuous thing to do? Reason in this sense is our inner compass, our inherent guide towards living well. Let's unpack what reason really means in this context, because it's far richer than just cold calculation. Clarity of perception. Reason allows us to strive to see the world and ourselves more clearly, more objectively. It involves recognizing the difference between external events and our judgments about them, as we may have explored before. It's the ability to pause, question our initial reactive thoughts. Is this really a catastrophe or just an inconvenience? And choose interpretations that are more accurate and helpful. It's about cutting through the fog of emotional reactivity to perceive the underlying reality more clearly. Understanding cause and effect. Reason helps us understand how things work, both in the external world and within ourselves. We can analyze situations, anticipate likely consequences of actions, our own and others, and learn from past experiences to make better choices in the future. It allows us to move beyond simply reacting to events and towards understanding the processes that drive them. There's evaluating values and goals. Reason enables us to reflect on what truly matters. What kind of life do we want to live? What kind of person do we aspire to be? We can use our reason to examine societal pressures versus our own deeply held values, to distinguish between fleeting pleasures and lasting fulfillment, to differentiate between what is truly good for our character, like kindness, courage, wisdom, and what are merely indifference, like wealth, health, reputation, things that can be used well or poorly and are not entirely in our control. Reason helps us set meaningful goals aligned with our core principles, making conscious, principled choices. Based on clear perception, understanding, and evaluated values, reason empowers us to make deliberate choices. Instead of being driven solely by impulse, habit, or external pressure, we can choose actions that align with our understanding of what is right, good, and wise in any given situation. This capacity for conscious choice is the heart of our agency. So, reason is our internal guide. But what should it guide us towards? The Stoic answer is beautifully simple, yet profound: living in accordance with nature. This doesn't just mean spending time outdoors, though that can certainly help us connect. It has two interconnected meanings. Living according to our own human nature. What does it mean to be human at our best? Reason tells us we are fundamentally social creatures. We are born into families, live in communities, and generally thrive through connection, cooperation, and mutual support. Living according to this aspect of our nature means cultivating healthy relationships, acting with fairness and kindness toward others, contributing to the common good, and recognizing our shared humanity. As we've explored through interconnectedness, reason also tells us our defining characteristic is this very capacity for reason itself. Therefore, living according to our nature means using our reason well, thinking clearly, acting virtuously, and striving for wisdom. It means living up to our potential as rational social beings, living according to the nature of the cosmos, the universe. This means recognizing and accepting our place within the larger order of reality. The universe operates according to natural laws, patterns of cause and effect. Events unfold, things change, Life includes both growth and decay, joy and sorrow, storms and sunshine. Living in accordance with this nature involves understanding that we are part of this vast, interconnected system, not separate from it or entitled to have it conform to our personal wishes. It means accepting the things that are outside our control as part of this natural unfolding. Linking deeply to acceptance and Amor, Fati. It requires acknowledging reality as it is, including its challenges and limitations, and working with it rather than perpetually fighting against it. This perspective doesn't necessarily require belief in a specific creator, but rather an acknowledgement of the inherent order and interconnectedness of existence. The ultimate goal, then, is to achieve harmony. It's about aligning our inner world, our reason, our judgments, our choices, our actions with the reality of our own nature, as rational, social beings, and the nature of the world around us, as an orderly, interconnected system. When our inner compass, reason, is aligned with the map of reality, nature, we navigate life more skillfully, more peacefully, more resiliently. This state of harmonious living, of functioning excellently according to our nature, is what the ancient Greeks sometimes called eudaimonia. It's often translated as happiness, but it's much deeper than just feeling good. It's a state of flourishing, of well-being, of inner peace and integrity that comes from living wisely and virtuously, regardless of external ups and downs. It's the deep satisfaction of knowing you are living in tune with reality and your own best self. How does cultivating our reason practically help us achieve this harmony and navigate life more effectively? Managing difficult emotions. As we've seen, our reason allows us to examine the judgments fueling destructive emotions like excessive anger, fear, or despair. By challenging irrational beliefs, this setback is the end of the world, and replacing them with more objective assessments. This is difficult, but I can handle it. Reason helps regulate our emotional responses, bringing them more into line with reality, guiding virtuous action. In complex situations, reason is our tool for determining the most ethical and effective course of action. How can I be courageous and prudent? How can I be just and compassionate? How can I speak honestly and kindly? Reason helps us weigh principles, consider consequences, and choose actions that align with our core values like justice, courage, temperance, self-control, and wisdom. Living virtuously is living rationally. Facilitating acceptance. Reason helps us understand the limits of our control. It allows us to see which events are part of the natural, unavoidable flow of life, aging, loss, change, natural disasters, and which are the results of complex factors beyond our influence. This rational understanding makes genuine acceptance possible, freeing us from the pain of resisting the inevitable. Strengthening social bonds. Reason helps us recognize our shared humanity and the practical benefits of cooperation, trust, and mutual support. It allows us to communicate more effectively, resolve conflicts more constructively, and act in ways that contribute to the health of our relationships and communities. It guides us towards fulfilling our nature as social beings, navigating obstacles constructively. When faced with challenges, reason enables us to analyze a situation clearly, break down problems into manageable parts, brainstorm potential solutions, learn from failures, and adapt our approach. It transforms obstacles from overwhelming threats into problems to be solved or lessons to be learned. Cultivating this inner compass, strengthening our capacity for reason, is therefore one of the most vital tasks we can undertake. How do we do it? It's not about becoming emotionless robots. It's about becoming clearer, wiser, more deliberate human beings. Practice self-reflection. Regularly take time to examine your thoughts, judgments, beliefs, and reactions. Ask yourself why you feel or act a certain way. Journaling can be a powerful tool here. Question assumptions. Be willing to challenge your own deeply held beliefs and assumptions. Ask, is this really true? Where did I learn this? Is there another perspective? Seek clarity. Strive for clarity in your understanding of situations and in your communication with others. Avoid ambiguity and fuzzy thinking. Engage with wisdom. Read philosophy, thoughtful literature, or sacred texts. Engage in conversations with people who challenge you to think more deeply. Learn from the wisdom of others. Practice mindfulness. Cultivating moment-to-moment awareness helps create that crucial pause between stimulus and response, giving your reason space to operate before habitual reactions take over. Focus on virtue. Consciously try to act in accordance with your chosen values in everyday situations. Each principled choice strengthens your rational capacity. Living according to reason and nature isn't about achieving some static state of perfection. It's a dynamic process, a continuous effort to use our innate capacity for clear thinking and understanding to navigate the complexities of life with wisdom, integrity, and grace. It's about trusting that within us lies a powerful, reliable guide, our own reason capable of leading us towards a life of profound meaning, resilience, inner peace, and harmonious flourishing. It's about finding our true north, not on some external map, but within the landscape of our own minds, aligned with the realities of our shared human journey and the vast universe we inhabit. Cultivate your reason. It is your most faithful guide.